What if a space looks clean, but still carries invisible bacteria, trapped odors, and contaminants you can't see or easily get rid of?
I mean, it is a genuinely unsettling thought, especially when you think about how much time we spend indoors.
Right. We rely so heavily on visual cues.
Yeah.
You know, like you look at a pristine lobby or a freshly vacuumed living room, and your brain just automatically signals that the air must be as clean as the floor.
Yeah, you see those shining floors, wiped down counters, and the illusion of safety is just, it's complete.
But the stack of industry research we are diving into today completely shatters that illusion. So, welcome to today's deep dive. We are thrilled you are here with us because we're looking at why deodorizing and sanitizing go far, far beyond what is traditionally considered just, cleaning.
Right, we're basically peeling back the drywall today, moving past the superficial aesthetics of a clean room and looking at the actual fluid dynamics and biology of the air systems where you live and work.
Exactly. We are examining the biological and chemical reality of indoor air and why these services are absolutely essential for maintaining truly healthy, fresh, and safe indoor environments across Atlanta homes and commercial spaces.
It's a huge topic.
It is. And to help us navigate the mechanics of all this, we are introducing our sponsor for this deep dive right up front, Metro Duct Cleaning, LLC.
Oh, yeah, they're fantastic.
Truly. If you are in the Atlanta area, grab a pen. Their phone number is 678-498-7371. Throughout our discussion of the source material today, we will be looking at their highly effective, specialized approach to deodorizing and sanitizing in Atlanta, GA.
Yeah, the documentation on their methodologies in our sources is quite extensive. It really highlights how specialized equipment and applied chemistry are required to tackle these invisible airborne threats. You can't just wipe them away.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Right.
Because we really need to establish the physical architecture where these invisible threats actually live and breed. We are looking at the ductwork, basically the respiratory system of your home or office. And looking through the research on HVAC dynamics, it becomes super clear that even a perfectly functional system even with regular filter changes, it still acts as a massive collection point.
Well, yeah, the physical layout of a duct system practically guarantees it. I mean, think about the basic physics of forced air. The system is constantly pulling in ambient air, conditioning it, and then pushing it back out.
Just over and over.
Exactly. And as time passes, the ducts pull in microscopic particulate matter, dust, dirt, mold spores, pollen.
Got dander.
All of it. And because ductwork consists of these long, dark, enclosed channels, the velocity of the air naturally drops in certain bends or corrugated sections.
And when the air slows down, it can't carry the heavy stuff anymore.
Right. When air velocity drops, the heavier particulates literally fall out of the airstream and settle on the metal walls.
But it's not just dry dust sitting there, right? I was reading this fascinating study in our sources about the thermodynamics of air conditioning.
Oh, the condensation.
Yes. When your AC kicks on, cold air is rushing through warm, often uninsulated spaces like an attic or a crawl space. And that temperature differential creates condensation right on the metal.
Which introduces the critical missing ingredient, water.
Right.
You now have moisture, darkness, and a constant food supply in the form of organic dust and pet dander. You have inadvertently built a high-efficiency biological incubator.
A gross one, too.
Very. The settled dust absorbs the condensation, creating a perfect microenvironment for pathogens like Stachybotrys chartarum.
Right, that's black mold, right?
Yeah, commonly known as black mold.
Yeah.
Or even just massive colonies of dust mites. So the ductwork stops being a transportation tube and literally becomes a habitat.
Wow. It's like having a spotless, perfectly vacuumed living room, but there's a hidden garbage can inside your walls with a fan blowing directly over it. You can scrub the carpets all day, but you aren't solving the actual problem.
That is a brutally accurate analogy. And what's fascinating here is the specific mechanism of that aerosolization. Every time the blower motor kicks on, the sudden change in air pressure, like the static pressure spike, creates turbulence.
Inside the ducts.
Yes. And that turbulence acts on the accumulated colonies of mold spores and bacterial biofilms, literally ripping microscopic fragments off the surface and injecting them directly into the breathing zone of the building.
Which is just awful to think about. This continuous circulation of biological pollutants is the exact invisible assault triggering allergies, asthma, and severe respiratory problems for people.
Absolutely. For someone with a compromised respiratory system, the moment the heat or AC turns on, they are breathing in a concentrated dose of the very things their immune system is desperately fighting.
You are breathing in the historical record of everything that has lived in or passed through that building over the last decade.
Exactly. Which is why it requires a targeted mechanical intervention to stop that cycle. Surface-level cleaning solutions simply cannot reach the structural source of a systemic problem like that.
Which brings us right back to the real-world application of all this science, and a spotlight on our sponsor, Metro Duct Cleaning LLC. In the industry documentation we reviewed, they're consistently highlighted as a bastion of excellence in top-tier cleaning services and exceptional customer service.
Yeah, they really are. Looking at the case studies provided in the source material, there is a very detailed 5-star review from an Atlanta resident named Barbara Burton that perfectly illustrates the biological cycle we were just talking about.
Her situation sounded like a textbook example of an unchecked duct habitat.
It really was. Barbara reported that whenever the AC engaged, the entire house smelled like a damp basement.
That smell.
Right. The olfactory receptors in her nose were literally detecting the volatile organic compounds, the gases released by actively growing mold colonies. And it was taking a physical toll. The airborne contaminants were making her family actively sick.
So she went looking for the source and discovered black mildew visibly growing on the intake louver.
Yeah, which was just the visible tip of the iceberg. And this is exactly where the operational standards of Metro duct cleaning come into play. They dispatched their expertly trained technicians the very same day.
The same day. That's impressive.
Yeah. The technicians conducted an inspection and revealed the true extent of the biological growth deep inside the system. According to the case study, the system was severely compromised by organic buildup. But Metro duct cleaning was able to resolve the issue entirely, mechanically removing the health hazard.
Let's talk about that mechanical removal, actually, because the Metro advantage is rooted in physics, not just, elbow grease.
No, absolutely.
These certified technicians are utilizing cutting-edge equipment to cleanse ducts to the most exacting standards. I'm looking at their loadout in the notes here. Powerful negative air machines equipped with HEPA filtration, specialized air compressors, and pneumatic agitators.
The physics of a negative air machine is brilliant for this specific application. To clean the ducts safely, you cannot simply brush it out.
Right, or you would blow a massive cloud of spores and dust into the living space.
Exactly. You'd make the air quality so much worse. Instead, the technicians completely sealed the system and attach a vacuum that pulls thousands of cubic feet of air per minute. This creates a negative pressure environment inside the duct.
Meaning the air pressure inside the duct is literally lower than the air pressure in the room, so air naturally flows into the ductwork from the house, preventing any contaminants from escaping.
Right. And as they agitate the walls of the ductwork with specialized pneumatic whips to break loose the biological biofilms and hardened debris, all of it is sucked back into the machine and passed through a HEPA filter.
And a true HEPA filter isn't just a basic screen or sieve, right?
Not at all. It is a dense mat of randomly arranged fiberglass fibers. It captures particles down to 0.3 microns through a combination of impaction, interception, and diffusion.
Diffusion being where the tiny particles bounce around erratically in the airflow until they just happen to stick to a fiber.
Yes. It is essentially a microscopic quarantine zone.
Wow. So as a quick reminder to you listening, when it comes to deodorizing and sanitizing in Atlanta, GA, you need to call 678-498-7371. Do not wait until you see black mildew on your vents or your family starts experiencing respiratory issues.
Yeah, don't wait. The biological load inside a duct system just compounds over time. Addressing it early through specialized intervention prevents the environment from ever reaching a toxic threshold.
I want to focus on the terminology of that intervention for a second,
Yeah.
because I have to play the role of the curious skeptic regarding the actual chemistry being applied after the physical dirt is removed.
Okay, lay it on me.
Well, when we see the word deodorizing on a service menu, I think the immediate assumption for most people is that someone is just fogging a heavy industrial perfume into the vents to artificially cover up that musty, damp basement smell.
Right, like an oversized car air freshener.
Yeah.
But a masking agent is the hallmark of an ineffective service. Simply layering a synthetic fragrance over a growing mold colony does absolutely nothing to alter the indoor air quality. True deodorizing is a highly specific chemical process. It is a one-two punch that relies on altering the actual molecular structure of the odor itself.
Okay, break down the chemistry of that first punch for me.
Well, we established that step one is the physical extraction. You cannot deodorize a pound of dirt and mold. You must remove the mass.
That makes sense.
Once the ducts are physically cleared of debris, step two begins. The technicians apply a potent, eco-friendly deodorizer throughout the newly cleaned system. And the active ingredients in a true deodorizing agent don't just sit in the air smelling like lemons. They seek out the specific volatile organic compounds, the VOCs that are causing the bad smell.
Like the sulfur compounds or the musty gases emitted by mildew that we talked about earlier.
Yes. The deodorizing molecules physically bond with those malodorous VOCs. In many cases, they use enzymatic action, acting almost like microscopic Pac-Men that digest the organic odor molecules. Or they use a process called oxidation to alter the chemical structure of the odor molecule. And once the structure is changed, your olfactory receptors no longer recognize it as a bad smell. It is eradicated at the source, neutralizing the odor-causing molecules entirely to leave a genuinely fresh atmosphere.
Okay, the chemistry of odor neutralization is fascinating, but deodorizing is only half of the title. The other half is sanitizing. If the deodorizer neutralized the smell, what is the sanitizer doing on a biological level?
So, sanitizing is the biological countermeasure. After the physical debris is gone and the lingering odors are chemically neutralized, the technicians apply a specialized sanitizing solution to the interior surfaces of the ductwork.
Okay.
This solution is specifically formulated to actively eliminate detrimental microorganisms.
We are fully entering the realm of microscopic warfare here. Are we talking about basically poisoning the bacteria?
It is often more physical than that, actually. Many advanced sanitizers work through a process called cellular lysis. The sanitizing agent interacts with the lipid envelope or the cellular wall of the bacteria and viruses that were breeding in that dark, conditioned environment.
And it breaks them down.
Exactly. The agent disrupts that outer wall, essentially causing the microorganism to burst and die.
So what does this all mean? It means this dual action process is actively resetting the biological baseline of the building.
Right.
You aren't just making the air smell fresh, you are physically neutralizing the biological hazards causing the odor.
Right. It creates a sterile environment. It ensures that the conditioned air being pushed into your living or working spaces is traveling through a hygienic corridor rather than being filtered through a hidden layer of active biological grime.
The granular science of breaking down cellular walls and neutralizing VOCs is incredibly compelling. But the sources we reviewed point to a massive ripple effect that goes way beyond health. Let's look at the thermodynamics of an HVAC system, because there is a serious financial and efficiency angle to this too.
Oh, a massive one. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the accumulation of debris inside ductwork profoundly alters the airflow dynamics of the entire building. An HVAC blower motor is engineered to operate against a very specific amount of resistance.
That's the static pressure, right?
Yes, known as static pressure.
And when you coat the inside of the ducts with an inch of dust and pet dander, you are drastically increasing the friction and restricting the volume of air that can pass through.
The static pressure inside the system basically spikes. The blower motor now has to work significantly harder to push the required cubic feet of air through those narrowed, textured passageways. It forces the system to overexert itself constantly just to meet the thermostat's demands.
It's like trying to run a marathon while breathing through a cocktail straw. Your home's lungs are suffocating.
That is exactly what is happening mechanically. We are talking about a motor that is suffocating, which means it is pulling more electrical current to try and compensate.
The amp draw just goes up.
Dramatically. That electrical overexertion translates directly into skyrocketing energy consumption. The longer the system has to run to condition the space, and the harder the motor has to work to push the air, the higher your utility bills climb every single month.
And the financial drain doesn't stop at the monthly electricity bill, I imagine. A motor pulling excess amps generates excess heat.
Right, and the thermal stress degrades the insulation on the motor's internal windings. That constant wear and tear leads to frequent breakdowns, blown capacitors, and ultimately a significantly shortened lifespan for the entire HVAC unit.
Wow.
When you compare the cost of regular professional deodorizing and sanitizing against the premature replacement of a $10,000 commercial HVAC system, the return on investment becomes glaringly obvious.
Speaking of commercial HVACs, the commercial applications are heavily emphasized in our source material. For businesses, industrial facilities, and retail spaces, managing these air systems is a critical operational mandate.
Oh, absolutely. The stakes in a commercial environment are exponentially higher simply due to the sheer volume of air being moved and the number of occupants relying on that air quality. Proper industrial and commercial duct cleaning becomes completely non-negotiable for compliance and facility management.
Our sources explicitly point to commercial dry air vents as a major vulnerability. We often just think of HVAC ducts. But the exhaust vents for industrial laundry facilities, hotels, or large laundromats are moving massive amounts of heat and particulate matter.
And that raises a severe safety and liability issue. The physics of a commercial dryer vent involve high velocity, high temperature air carrying highly flammable cotton and synthetic lint.
Right.
As the vent run gets longer, especially in multi-story buildings where the exhaust travels vertically, the air velocity drops. The lint begins to accumulate on the walls of the vent.
You essentially build a chimney lined with highly combustible kindling and then blow 180-degree air through it continuously.
Exactly. The restricted airflow causes the heat inside the dryer unit to build up far past its safe operating parameters. If the internal temperature reaches the auto-ignition point of the accumulated lint, you have the perfect recipe for a devastating, rapid-spread fire inside the walls of a commercial structure.
So professional extraction and sanitization in that context is entirely about life safety and preventing the building from burning down.
It ensures strict safety compliance, which protects the business from massive liability. And beyond fire prevention, regular maintenance of these commercial air systems prevents catastrophic operational downtime.
Because a fire stops everything.
A failed blower motor or a localized fire event stops business operations completely. Maintaining the cleanliness and safety of the exhaust and supply lines keeps the facility running smoothly.
It also fulfills the fundamental duty of providing a hygienic environment. Whether it is an office building, a retail store, or an industrial floor, an employer has a responsibility to provide safe, clean air for their workforce and their customers.
Absolutely. No one is going to remain in a commercial space that smells heavily of damp mildew, and productivity plummets when the workforce is suffering from sick building syndrome caused by aerosolized bacteria.
It is really the invisible infrastructure of facility management. The biological and mechanical health of a building's ductwork dictates the health of the people inside it and the longevity of the equipment powering it.
Yeah, we've journeyed from the microscopic disruption of a bacterial cell wall all the way to the thermodynamics of industrial air handlers today.
We really have. Whether we are looking at the chemistry of neutralizing a volatile organic compound or the physics of pulling thousands of cubic feet of air through a HEPA filter to remove a fire hazard, the core truth remains exactly the same. What you cannot see is actively impacting your health, deteriorating your equipment, and draining your wallet.
The science clearly demonstrates that achieving a truly clean environment requires addressing the invisible variables just as aggressively as the visible ones.
To wrap it up, deodorizing and sanitizing in Atlanta, GA are essential for maintaining truly clean, fresh, and healthy indoor spaces by removing odors, reducing bacteria, and improving air quality beyond what regular cleaning can achieve.
It perfectly bridges the gap between looking clean and actually being safe on a biological level.
Call the sponsor now, Deodorizing and Sanitizing in Atlanta, GA. Do not wait until the static pressure in your HVAC system burns out your motor or your family starts suffering the effects of poor indoor air quality.
The proactive intervention is really the only way to reset the environment.
This deep dive has been sponsored by Metro Duct Cleaning, LLC. They are the professionals equipped to handle the chemistry and the physics we discussed today. With their expertly trained, fully certified technicians, their use of cutting-edge negative air equipment, and their proven track record of exceptional customer service, they are ready to restore your home or business. Call them directly at 678-498-7371 to schedule an inspection and get your system thoroughly cleared, deodorized, and sanitized.
You probably check the weather app to see what the air quality is like outside before you go for a walk. But when was the last time you thought about the actual age, health, and history of the air trapped inside your own walls?